What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Viall Files Update Classic Edition. I am your host, Nick, joined by my trusty sidekick, Allie Martin. How are you?
Wow, that was so beautiful. My sister called me last night and she goes, "Hello, old faithful." And I was like, "Oh, great." It's just integrating its way into my personal life.
Oh, is it old faithful or old faithful? Like OLE or old, like, I know.
OL like apostrophe.
Or, yeah, right.
You know what I didn't realize? I had a whole debate with the rest of our team last night. You know, like the saying, like, this does not this make, like a swallow does not a spring make. Like,
you're talking to the wrong guy,
not...
but sure. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
A blank does not, like, a bouquet does not a wedding make. Like, one thing does not. Phrasing like that.
I'm somewhat
I realized
familiar.
everyone thought I, like, had a typo. They were like, "What are you talking about? No, you need to flip it." And I was like,
you sound like
no.
Yoda.
Yeah, I just didn't realize people didn't speak like that.
People don't speak like that, but it is a phrase. I think
people were extra confused because I did comment it as you, and then I think people are like, "Nick screwed up."
Well, yeah, because if they think it's from me talking, they just assume that I can't speak, which would be somewhat
So I
accurate.
deleted it because people were getting too confused.
Well, we have an amazing episode for you. I know you guys love those updates, and we saved a good one for all of you, you know, not just the Viall Files Plus faithful, as we like to refer to them. But if you are missing out on more and more updates, do not forget to sign up for Viall Files Plus because we got some good ones for you. Our dear friend, that update, she has 2 updates for you guys. She's out there. A lot of other great ones that you guys have been thirsting for are available behind Viall Files Plus, so be sure to check that out. Just go to viallfiles.com. It's free to sign up. You get a free 7-day trial. Check it out. What do you have to lose? Literally nothing other than pure, wonderful entertainment. I'm really excited about this episode. You guys are going to love it, especially our third caller. Our third caller is someone who gave an update. They originally called in like 2019, way back when, long before probably many of you started listening to the show. But I don't even want to give. It's a wild story. It's a feel good story. We have a nice clip to, for all the people who don't remember her, or even if you were listening to the show, it was so long ago. We'll bring you up to speed with a clip. So you're gonna love this story. It's so good. It really warmed my heart. And if you have questions around, little teaser, questions around surrogacy, because that's just wild stuff. Like, it's still to this day, even though I know it's a thing that exists, and you got your Kardashians and your Paris Hiltons, and then our caller, just the normies. The normies are doing it too. It's a relatively shockingly affordable thing. I mean, by affordable, I mean, like, if you would have told me this was millions of dollars, because it seems so crazy in a way, right? It just seems like surreal. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I don't know when this started, but the whole surrogacy process seems like a science fiction movie sometimes. Am I the only one who thinks that? Am I crazy? I don't know, but I'm fascinated by it. That's all I want to say. There is a surrogacy in part of the story, but it's just a really great, wonderful, feel good story. And if you have any questions around surrogacy, what that's like, you'll get at least some of your questions answered. But I was fascinated.
What I think is interesting is I just pulled up some surrogacy information, and from laurelfertility.com, typically the insemination to impregnate the surrogate mother with the male partner's sperm, this procedure is typically less demanding and less expensive when compared to IVF.
Yeah.
Because IVF is extremely expensive too.
Yeah. I don't know much about either, but it is crazy. It's just, I think part of it is just having to find the right person, but it's also like an industry. Like, there are women out there who are like, yeah, I'm ready to have your baby. It's like a job, or at least a part-time job. But anyways, it's fascinating. Science, the power of life. And I don't know what you guys all believe in. I don't know what God you worship, if you worship a God at all, if you believe in the horoscopes or the stars or voodoo, whatever you believe in. This story will make you feel like there is something out there. The universe or whatever has some sort of power. It makes you believe in something more than just randomness. I don't know. It's crazy. Love. Anyways, I'm excited for you guys to listen to it. We do, before we get to our callers, have a couple writer-inners. We're going to start with one before we get to our first caller. Take it away, Allie.
Yes. So this was our caller, Riley, who joined us on episode 673, which was our episode with Olivia Flowers.
Mm.
She was the Sweating the Wedding caller who was saying, I just got engaged. I need help telling my friend that not only is she not going to be a bridesmaid, she's not invited to the wedding.
Yeah, I remember.
Like this girl was
Yeah.
under such, she really thought, she was like, can't wait to stand up in your wedding. And she's like, oh no, we are not that close.
It wasn't like it was a falling out. It was like a crazy presumption of a friend that they were closer a few years ago. Weren't they college friends or something?
Mm-hmm.
They kind of lost touch, but this one friend just assumed that they'd be
Yeah.
in their wedding. Yeah. So, anyways, what's the update?
Yeah. So Riley writes, I started writing my update to you, but it's turning into a novel. In the meantime, I was able to cut my response down to cliff notes. Thank you guys for the advice. I can promise this won't be the last update since the one I have right now is small. I did end up writing the letter to my ex-best friend. I haven't read it to her or sent it to her. It felt more of a way to get my feelings out for now. I'm going to see her next weekend in a group setting and most likely with my friend Kaylee in a few weeks, just us three. Kaylee is the close friend that's also involved in this situation, just not as deep as me. That was discussed on the phone call. I don't think the group setting will be an appropriate time to tell her how I'm feeling, and it doesn't feel right to share this letter with her over the phone or FaceTime. She's recently been reaching out to me to hang out, and I've agreed because I'm curious how it will go. I want to try to
Why?
go into the situation open-minded to see if she's changed in the last 7 months. Part of me feels I need to stop building the situation up in my head. I'm still struggling with breaking up with her. A huge part of me just wants this to fizzle out and not address it head on, but I know that's not right. I want to see how things go with just her, Kaylee, and I first, and then determine how I address it from there. Regardless, I know I do need to share all of my thoughts and feelings with her at some point. I feel like I'm attempting to protect my peace by procrastinating this, but that's counterproductive because I know it's always going to be on my to-do list in the back of my head until I do. I'm in between completely cutting her out of my life or just coming to terms that we can still be friendly, just not best friends.
So, is she debating inviting her to the wedding?
She doesn't specify, but I'm like, if I'm
I don't
assuming if you're
under-
so friendly,
yeah,
you
I
would
don't
invite
understand.
her?
If she is setting plans to hang out with this person, either one-on-one or maybe especially if it's in a small setting, how is she not invited to the wedding?
Because then it's like, then it's not even what we started with, which is how do I not invite her at all? This seems more like at some point you're going to have to say, hey,
You're not in the wedding party.
Numbers not
Yeah.
working out. Can't wait to see you there. Come to the bachelorette.
If she doesn't want her to go to the wedding, she should just like cut her off. You're hanging out with her in group settings and you're making other plans. Would it be that much of a crime if she comes to your wedding?
I will say, too, it sounds like Riley is maybe trying to not rush to any conclusions. She wrote the letter. She hasn't sent it yet. But she's even said in this update, I'm wondering and trying to be open-minded if she's changed in the last 7 months. So maybe, my therapist is always talking like sometimes you click with people and then you get into different stages of life and you don't click for a while. It doesn't mean
Sure.
they're a terrible person or you're a terrible person. And then you click again. So
I've
maybe
had
she's
that
trying to
happen.
see maybe they'll click again.
I've had that happen. I've had, I wouldn't say falling outs. I guess I've had falling outs with buddies where they were just like annoying me or, they
Mhm.
were single and obnoxious. Kind of distanced myself. And then like they kind of got over their thing and we slowly reconnected and I got close again. That happens all the time. I just think in the short term, you might as well just invite her to the wedding at this point. As long as she handles the, you're not in the wedding party, which I don't know. Is anyone that offended by not being in a wedding party? Unless you're like a brother or a best friend. But like if you're like a friend from however many years ago, I have a lot of close friends. A lot of them aren't at my wedding party. If she handles that poorly, maybe that's a whole different conversation. But if you are hanging out with her in group settings and then you scheduled a little threesome hang, you can't not invite her to the wedding. Hey, let's go grab a cup of coffee. By the way, here I've been thinking about not into the wedding. I'm curious about what's in this letter. It sounds like the letter has to do with like her feelings about the relationship. I don't remember what advice I gave her. Obviously, I always suggest people writing letters to kind of articulate their feelings, but that was advice based off the fact that she was going to maybe let her know and just kind of cut it off.
Well, and even here, she says, I'm still just struggling with breaking up with her. Maybe you don't need to break up.
Yeah, maybe you don't have to break up
her.
with her. Invite her to the wedding. Not a big deal. What's one more person?
Mhm.
Unless she's some total social liability, invite her to the damn wedding. Assuming she's not going to throw a fit and make everything about her because she's not in the wedding party. Which, who knows? It could happen, but like that would be kind of crazy for them to do. And then, she said, I just want it to fade away. You know, you're going to get married. You're going to have a lot going on. You're going to be focusing on your marriage, hopefully. And it could easily just kind of fade away.
It's also, you can have, again, not only multiple tiers of friends and how deep your relationships are, you can be friends with people where you're like, this person's a lot. I need to hang out with them in a group setting. I don't want to hang out with them one-on-one, but they can still be in your life.
Yeah. And they can go to your bachelorette party or whatever. It's not that precious. It's just not that big of a deal. But wedding party, I get. Like, I get being selective there.
Mm-hmm.
If you can hang out with them in group settings, in intimate settings, you can invite them to your wedding.
And I'm like, if you're curious about how she's changed the last 7 months, if you're struggling breaking up with her, if you haven't sent this letter, if you're making plans with her, listen to that.
It's
Lean into that.
Way too much energy to be spending on someone you're not going to invite to your wedding.
Yeah.
You know, you wrote this person a whole letter. There's a lot of people you wouldn't bother to write a letter who will be at your wedding. There's a lot of people at your wedding that if they, wake up with, let's say, COVID and can't make it, you won't lose sleep over.
Are you worried that'll happen? Like if someone like the morning of your wedding can't come?
Only me and Natalie. That's the only concern I have. No,
That's
I mean, if someone else wakes up with COVID, I would be disappointed.
Yeah.
But
do you have like a backup? Like what if it's someone in your bridal party? Do you have a backup plan?
who gives a fuck?
What? But then the numbers are off.
Who gives a fuck?
You want to throw someone else in there?
I'm just saying, big picture. Maybe all the people listening are like, oh my God, what do you mean, who gives a fuck? But like at the end of the day, that is not something I'm going to let ruin the vibe or have me spend 2 seconds stressing over because someone woke up sick, and the numbers are off. Who cares?
I mean, I always realize this, but one of the quintessential moments where I was like, I am my parents' daughter is when before my sister's wedding, my parents went to Men's Warehouse and bought an extra of every groomsman item in case someone forgot something.
That's crazy. But
and
hey,
guess who forgot their shirt? My brother-in-law.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to be rich.
We returned everything.
Whatever. That's just something rich people do, Allie.
No, that's something prepared people do.
Well, some prepared people couldn't even afford to do that, even though they returned it.
Just saying, prepare for the worst.
Listen, your parents are you're rich. It's amazing. Good for them. Nothing wrong with that. They work hard. Well, if you haven't noticed, this is episode 698, which means Ask Nick on Monday is 699. And yeah, if you can do math and count, 700 is right around the corner. And boy, do we have an episode for you. I never would have imagined that episode 700 would feature Tom Sandoval and Tom Schwartz. Some might say the dynamic duo. Some might say the not so dynamic duo. But either way, a duo. It was a treat. It was a little chaotic. A lot of fun. I don't know if we accomplished what we wanted to accomplish, but you will be entertained. That much I promise you. That is on Tuesday for our 700 episode. So get ready for that. And then for episode 701, we have a very special guest. We're not gonna tell you guys quite yet. Mostly because they record on Friday. We don't like to tease people who we haven't locked
until they're in the bank.
Until they're in the bank.
We have that footage.
Things come up. I don't know. But we're excited for that one. Another perfectly timed interview, as I should say. And then we have, let's see, right around. Eventually, we got Denise Richards coming up soon, and some other good ones. More fun along the way for all you Viall Files stands. Again, as always, we appreciate you supporting our show. Tell your friends, subscribe, rate, review, all that fun stuff. And like I said, if you're thirsting for more updates, check out Viall Files Plus. All right, it's time for us to shut up and get to our first caller.
Question time with Nick. Let's ask Nick your sexy questions.
Welcome back, Noelle.
Hi, Nick.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Last time we spoke, it was a while ago, episode 550, Allie?
Yep.
Almost 150 episodes ago.
Yeah.
But when you called, you were calling in wondering if you should reach out to your ex-husband's new fiance. Was that right? Or wife?
Correct.
New
Yep,
fiance. Wondering if maybe you should be a girl's girl, giving her the tea on all the horrific things that your ex-husband did to you.
Yes.
Let's play a quick clip for our audience to bring them up to speed, since it obviously was so long ago. of the first time you called and what that was all about.
I'm wondering if I should reach out to my abusive ex-husband's new fiance to reveal his trail of trauma, or sit back and watch the shit show unfold with my popcorn.
Okay. Well, I feel very strongly that you shouldn't watch it go down. If you choose not to be a part of it, I would maybe suggest that you find a way to stop being emotionally invested in your ex.
It's the type of relationship where, had I had the option, I would have blocked for my own sake, not necessarily for a reaction or anything like that, just for my own mental health. We have a 5-year-old. And so I am consistently being relayed information from my 5-year-old. I'm seeing how it affects my 5-year-old. Since we split 4 years ago, he's had literally dozens of relationships. All of them have been involved in my son's life. Oftentimes without him telling me that this relationship, he is in my ex-husband, telling me that the relationship exists. And then I find out later, or on social media from friends, that my 5-year-old is hanging out with another woman a week after hanging out with a different woman. And they're all being, like I said, playing house right away. So my son is getting invested in the relationship with this woman. A lot of them have kids. So my son's getting invested in the relationship with these other kids that are being brought into his life, just for that to change, not that
That's tough.
long after. And none of them have gotten to the point of engagement. They've been together. He and his new fiance have been together. They were in a long distance relationship for 3 months before he moved in with her. And it was just a month later that they got engaged. So,
What do you call these women to your son?
Dad's girlfriend, usually. I mean, I typically don't.
What does
I
girlfriend
typically don't
mean to
refer
him?
to them. He'll tell me about them as dad's girlfriend.
Does he understand what a girlfriend is?
I don't know. I actually heard him talking at his preschool today. I went and did table time for Valentine's Day, and heard him telling his teacher about his dad's girlfriend. And I'm in a relationship now. I've been in a relationship with my boyfriend for 2 years, and so he knows that that's my boyfriend. I don't think he understands, the full extent of the relationships. It's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be a good question for me to ask him.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is a great question for like a therapist. Your ex's actions, if nothing else, have shown your son not to get all that too attached to any of these people he brings in their life. I don't know if a 5-year-old is like able to comprehend that, but on some level, like he's seen women come and go. Are you all that worried about his new fiance? Like, what's your actual concern level for her well-being? Is he physically abusive? Is he emotionally abusive? Is it both?
But not physical, as in, well, at least with me, he would get physical with items, not with me. So throwing stuff, slamming things, that type of thing. It was never physically abusive. It was everything from, oh gosh, cheating on me emotionally. He threatened to take my engagement ring back the day after he gave it to me. And then at one point during our engagement, he lied about having a job for what I found out later was months. So, and I was working from home at the time.
Sounds to me like your ex is really insecure with himself, and he doesn't like feeling small or powerless. And when he does, he takes it out on the people he claims to care about.
I don't know if he cares about anybody.
What does your body tell you? What does your heart tell you is the right thing to do?
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of the fuck with him, if I'm
you're
being
being
completely honest.
I think that's an important thing to acknowledge, and I understand why, but I think we have an answer. But you know that part of your decision is to fuck with him, and the more you focus on him, the less happier you're allowing him to make you. So go be happy. Go enjoy your son. Go enjoy your boyfriend. Stop letting this guy have power over you. Go make yourself happy because you deserve it. And it seems like you have a lot of great things going for yourself despite what you've gone through. And that's an amazing thing because it's hard to set yourself up for success, and it's hard to recover from terrible situations, and you sounds like you've done a pretty darn good job of that. So good for you. All right. Well, in your own words, what do you remember about the advice I shared with you? What did you do with it?
Yeah, well, you took me by surprise when we first started that I should not be putting emotional investment or energy into that situation, and that I was probably more invested than I was willing to acknowledge at the time. And I took your very sound advice in not putting energy and thoughts into situations that didn't serve me, and put more focus into investing time in myself and in my son. And one thing you said that really stuck with me was if there was any possibility of me bringing something to her attention, her not listening, because let's be real, the information probably wouldn't have been taken kindly. And if there was any possibility,
she would have been
of that
resistant
kind of,
for sure.
yeah, if there was any possibility of that coming up to bite me a little bit, or her treating my son differently because I inserted myself into the situation, that it absolutely would not be worth it. I've actually applied your advice into doing what serves me in many different areas of my life: friendships, relationships, work situations, really trying to focus my energy and work on myself and the things that do serve me and serve my son and make our life better.
Incredible. So how are things with your ex-husband? Did he end up getting married? Where's the update there? And more importantly, what's the update in your life? And how did applying this feedback affect your life overall?
Yeah, well, the update there, as much as I try not to pay too close attention to what's going on, obviously it does affect my son.
You share a kid,
so
yeah.
I have to keep a little bit in the know. But abruptly at one point, they decided to pack up and move to North Carolina. He and his fiance, still fiance, they're getting married at the end of February. They decided to move to North Carolina. They were there for a couple weeks, and then her ex-husband, who is the father of her children, filed an emergency motion to have his children brought back to the state. So that move lasted about 6 weeks. And so they were involved in some legal stuff on their end. None of it affected my son. We didn't change the schedule. He just missed his parenting time while he was gone. It was nice to have him out of my hair for those 6 weeks, but
so when he moved, they took her kids, but not your son. So
correct.
Okay. So it's kind of like a mini win.
Right. It was nice, like I said, to have him out of my hair for those 6 weeks that he was gone. He didn't really call or anything. So it's like I, didn't have to be involved at all during that time, which was really nice. They came back due to that emergency motion. She wasn't allowed to take her kids out of the state again. So they decided just never to go back. So we're back on the every other weekend thing. There has been drama with different child support and those different types of things. He's trying to take me back to court. I'm incurring those different legal fees, but I'm on the winning side of it just for the sake of, being the mom and having my son in my life, and everything I'm doing is to advocate for him. And so it's all worth it in the end. My son has not been very happy with the things that go on at their house. So I do have to, pipe up at certain times to advocate for my son and say, hey, he's really unhappy with this going on at your house or XYZ. And based on her responses, one reason I'm glad I didn't reach out is because it does seem like she and my ex-husband are made for each other.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She sounds like as toxic as he is. Yeah. Yeah.
So given that my son is only there, every other weekend for 2 days at a time, it's just kind of like an overnight at this point. Their parenting isn't too significant of an influence out there in that regard because it's such a short period of time. So there hasn't been too much negative impact. He's always a little bit out of sorts when he comes back for a weekend and doesn't get the greatest sleep. They're staying at her parents' house and my son sleeps on a couch in a basement, which hurts my heart a little bit, but
he'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a camp out.
Yeah.
Is kind of
what about you personally? Where are you with your love life? Like, have you been able to care less? Like you said, it sounds like you've been able to invest less and less of your emotional energy into your ex-husband and his dating life, other than the fact that you are co-parents and so you have to, out of necessity. What has that brought you in your own life?
Yeah. Well, in kind of an unfortunate turn of circumstances, last time I talked to you, I was in a really great relationship with my boyfriend. As we got close to 3 years here, the last 6 months, he's been dealing with some things in his personal life and in his friendships and in his job that I think really took a toll on him mentally and emotionally. And that led to kind of an abrupt breakup after we spent a wonderful Thanksgiving together in his hometown. So that really, it took me by surprise, I guess, in the timing. Because I thought that we were, going in a certain direction, the direction he told me we were going throughout the whole 3 years that we were together. But the last 6 months, I've really noticed him pulling away, but have been trying to, connect with him through that, just with the attitude of, everyone goes through hard times, right? If we can work through this together, it was really the first challenge of our entire relationship. Things had been going really, really well before then. Before this last 6 months, he was talking to my friends about engagement rings and doing all of those things. But I noticed it became more apparent the farther we got in our relationship that I think he thinks he wanted those things like a future and moving in together and marriage and kids potentially and those different types of things, but wasn't really willing to disrupt his routine in order to move towards having those things.
Yeah.
And would kind of shut down with those situations, just always talk about them like they were in the future. When I'd ask for reassurance and try to connect with him occasionally to just say, hey, are we still on the same page? Are we still going in the same direction? It's like his attitude was always, yeah, I mean, we're together, as if he wouldn't be in a relationship with me if he didn't want those things. And then when he broke up, he said, well, I don't know if I ever want those things at the end of 3 years together. So it just kind of became I'm in a very different point in my life. I have a now 6-year-old to think about. And the only reason I was willing to be as patient as I was because he always assured me that he did want those things, but it became apparent that he was disengaging a little bit.
How are you feeling about it all?
I was really sad at first. I've been doing a lot of reflecting and thinking just about the reality of the situation, not the things that he was telling me we were going to have in the future or what I in my head was romanticizing about having in the future, but really the reality of like, where did he show up? And I was putting in a lot more effort than he was. And I think I was really swept away in how we met and, our common interests and the things that we liked to do together. But as far as him stepping up to be a partner and to be a father figure to my kid, that there was really a lot of things lacking that would be essential in having a future with somebody.
It sounds like you have approached this breakup a lot healthier than maybe ones in the past.
Yeah. Well, even my friends, I do have the best support system I think anyone could ever ask for. I have the best group of friends that have really kind of helped me move through it. I really have been able to look back at this like this is truly his loss, because I have a great life and I just thought he wanted to be a part of that. And so for him to kind of acknowledge that that's not what he wants, I feel like it's his loss. And I'm going to have a good life regardless of whether or not he's in it. But I kind of needed a relationship like this after my relationship with my ex-husband. And they are kind of polar opposites. My ex-husband, we had met, got married, got pregnant, and got divorced within 3.5, 4 years. And then with my boyfriend of 3 years, we didn't even get to the move-in. We hardly got to the sleepover stage because it just moved so slowly. He always told me he wanted those things. And so that's kind of what I hung my hat on. I know that you were a firm believer that the only good reason to ever move in with somebody is if you're both excited. Like there's no timeline on it, but if you're both mutually excited about doing it, that's when the right time is. And so I kind of was like, I don't want to put a timeline on it because Nick said, don't put a timeline on it. But how do you gauge that as I approach new relationships? And I trusted what he said, I guess, more than his actions. Where's the sweet spot between understanding that you don't want to give someone an ultimatum or a timeline or anything like that, but that you are comfortable with the pace that the relationship is moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a clear answer, right? But I think
Yeah.
there's other ways to like check in with your relationship and yourself and your partner and check in with your connection and see how it's progressing in a lot of ways that don't include moving in together.
Yeah.
So like off the top of my head, for anyone who wants to get engaged to you or live with you is going to be a co-parent. That is, you're a package deal, right? And that's great. And that's fine. And there's plenty of men out there that not only will be okay with that, but will love and embrace that. But like, how involved is he in? Does the men that you date in your life kind of take the like, hey, it's your kid, whatever. Like, I think it's great that you have a kid, but like, I'm not their dad type of energy. That's kind of very kind of disconnected. Yeah, they're nice to your kid, but they're not really investing in trying to get to know them, right? Like, that is a sign to me that someone's like maybe not thinking about like, hey, I could be this guy's stepfather someday.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to meet a single mother and like have some boundaries early on, that quite honestly, I would think the mother or the father or whoever the single parent would want. But even if that doesn't happen, like the people coming in, I've dated moms before, right? And it's kind of like, before I'm sure about my feelings, I just want to make sure I'm keeping a healthy distance. But if you're in a relationship, if you're talking about the future, then I would think that someone's actions would demonstrate like being more involved with the kid, with their lives. Again, it's like what you talk about. Do you talk about the future more? Or do you find different ways to connect? Are you growing? If all you are ever doing is saying one day, yes, I want this, but all of their actions never like show any type of progression, then it's okay to check in with yourself. It's okay to say, hey, listen, like, I know you say this and I'm not trying to put a timeline on it, but like, when I think back about like where our relationship is going in the past 6 months, like we're kind of exactly where we were 6 months ago. You don't really have a stronger relationship with my son. We don't do X, whatever it is that you'd want, I think you can, I don't think it's not just the moving in. It's not just about an engagement. So I'm guessing when you look back, you're nodding your head a lot when I'm giving these kind of examples. And it sounds like all the things that I'm saying that he could have, should have done, he didn't really do in the 3 years that you dated. Right. So, he didn't get closer with your son in 3 years. He wasn't doing more family oriented things with you and your son from time to time that would suggest that this guy is comfortable with the idea of getting engaged to you and automatically being a stepfather to your son. He kept a bit of a distance. And let's say if like, in your shoes, sure, like you can almost like your kid can be a bit of a barometer for how serious someone is. But for someone who doesn't have a kid, there's still ways of checking in with yourself about like, how is this relationship advancing? What kind of conversations are you having? How much are you talking about the future? There's a difference between like talking about the future pragmatically and checking in with each other rather than playing house and like making promises about the future, about where this could go. That, is different than having more and more serious conversations with each other about what the future looks like. Those are two different things.
Yeah. And when I said, I think he thought he wanted those things, he was a lot more connected actually to my son and our family. I live locally with my family, so I'm close to my family geographically, and his are a little bit farther away. So a lot of extended family things, and taking my son and I to the baseball game and offering to watch my son while I did XYZ. And so that's why I think I got very comfortable, within the first year, 2 years of our relationship. And then they very slowly, all of a sudden I was like, wait, that hasn't happened for a while. And this last summer, a personal incident occurred where I am working from home. My son was here. I didn't have childcare. And this is a very specific example, but he's a teacher and never once just offered to, hey, can I come pick him up and go to the park or take him to lunch? Or do you have any meetings today where you need help? There was never anything like that. And I think
so in 3 years of dating you, who already had a son, he didn't ever have like any one-on-one or alone time or like actually offered to like babysit or to take care of your son. That's telling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I got a major ick. My son just celebrated his 6th birthday, and we broke up over Thanksgiving, and he never acknowledged my son as we're having this like conversation about where is this going? Where are we going? Okay, I think we are in 2 different places. There was never an acknowledgement of my son during those conversations on his end. And then Christmas, and my son just celebrated his 6th birthday, and it's like he hasn't even acknowledged that my son exists since we dropped my son off with his dad at Thanksgiving. And so it's those types of reflections and those things that they're kind of making themselves a lot more apparent now and since has given me the ick enough to be like, I'm better off and I don't need that in my life. And I tried very hard at the beginning of our relationship not to force a relationship. It did happen naturally, but then, like I said, it regressed almost the same way that my relationship with my boyfriend kind of regressed within the last 6 months. But my ex-husband had a daughter, and he like forced me into kind of mom mode right away. Like it was right away. And so I told myself when that relationship ended, I would never do that to someone else. But you would assume that after a year, 2 years, 3 years, that relationship would.
Yeah. I mean, doing it right away is one thing. 6 months in, after like clearly being a committed relationship and slowly being more and more involved, you know, at a pace that your new boyfriend and his, the mother of his daughter or whatever, it's, like you're being respectful type of thing. Yeah, it's all about balance. But listen, the good news is that you clearly have demonstrated like progress in yourself and how you are handling and seeing these things and how you're like in your perspective. Like, you're sad, like as you should be. It's a 3-year relationship. You have every right and you should mourn that, but you're also, now that it's, we're mid-January and you've been broken up for a few months now, you're choosing not to feel sorry for yourself, which you easily could. As a single mom, dating is harder, that's just a reality. But instead, you're just saying, hey, what can I learn from this? I still have my son. That's what matters most, and yeah, it took me 3 years to figure out this guy wasn't my person, but you're still very young. You still have a lot of life in front of you. And now you're better equipped to get back out there and date when you're ready for it, and that's what you'll do, and it will work out.
I'm nervous to put myself back out there, and I'm choosing not to at the moment.
When you do, just try to have fun with it. Again, we all know dating can suck. We know. But there is no point in dreading it and telling ourselves it's going to suck, because there are fun elements when it comes. It's always fun meeting new people. It is always exciting to have that a first kiss with someone. It is always exciting a little bit to wonder if someone likes you. Yeah, there's a lot of downsides that come to dating. There are fun and enjoyable moments. So when you are ready, make sure that you are embracing the things that are fun rather than making it worse by dreading it and saying how much it sucks, or you didn't want this and you didn't plan on being X number of years old and still dating. That's going to do you no good.
Yeah. One thing I read in your book that I thought was really something I read it before. I read it at the very beginning of when we started dating. And one thing you say in there is that the way someone handles disappointment, how is that said? Like the way someone handles disappointment is very telling in a relationship. And I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
In the first 2.5 years of our relationship, we never had arguments. He never raised his voice, and we never even exchanged tense words. So when you have someone who's a little bit more easygoing or kind of avoidant of conflict, so that you don't even end up getting into those situations where they are disappointed, how would you say gauging someone's personality and how they handle conflict and disappointment if they're not even willing to engage in conflict?
But that is how they are handling it. They are avoiding something. If it is obvious to you that there's a discussion to have, but they're not willing to have it, that's information.
Yeah.
That is how they're handling it. So then you are stuck with someone, okay, well, yeah, they're not reactive, they're not screaming at me, they're not saying, fine, yeah, that's great, but they're also not willing to resolve something. They're keeping you like confused as to like, do I have the right to be frustrated? They're being so dismissive of like how I'm feeling that it's almost like, well, am I crazy for even being upset, or are we okay? They act like it's no big deal, but something feels off to me, but I don't feel comfortable enough talking to them because they never seem to want to address it. Well, that is how they respond to them being disappointment. There's a lot of ways that people can respond inappropriately to disappointment. It's not just being reactive. It could be, again, avoidant. What you want is that balance, to someone who can acknowledge that there is conflict and someone who says, okay, we're not on the same page. We're not connected. No matter what, you and I have the same priority, and that is to, when we get disconnected, to reconnect. When we feel distant, we try to get closer. Nellie and I talk a lot, obviously, about our relationship. We don't have a perfect relationship by any stretch of the imagination, but what we do have is a mutual effort to keep working at it. And as of now, and how we've always felt, is that even at our worst times of, not being on the same page, we've always felt like the other person wanted to get back on the same page. And that's a reassuring feeling to have, because it's like, all right, fine, we're not where we want to be. But I've always felt like it mattered as much to her as it does to me to reconnect and to figure out when we're not on the same page. And to me, that's what it's about,
Yeah.
So yeah, avoidant is how they're handling it,
Yeah. I think I got so caught up in the beginning because it was so polar opposite of my previous relationship, my marriage.
Yeah, because your husband was reactive, and your new boyfriend was more like chill as fuck, and you're just like, oh, okay, it was not yelling at me. That's a plus. So yeah, again, that's the thing. It's like you might be at a place in your life where, like, I'm a single mom, and I'm more. How old are you again?
36.
36. Yeah, I'm 36. I never thought I'd be dating. But you are acknowledging that you're still learning.
Yeah.
You're acknowledging that, like, I don't have the answers, and and we'll never have all the answers, but the good news is that you can still improve upon how you deal with your relationships, and that's progress. So, all righty.
Yeah. That's great.
Well, thank you for the update. Sorry about the breakup. It does suck, but it is clarity. It is I do also say in my book that rejection is clarity.
Definitely
and
clarity.
You got some answers, and this could have lasted longer than it did. And I'm glad that you got some clarity in this relationship. And now, whenever you're ready, you can get back out there. And you still got your son, and you've set some healthy boundaries with your ex-husband. So the good news is, a lot of the drama when we first met you that seemed to find its way into your life, you've done a really good job of being able to not let it seep into your bubble, so to speak, which is ultimately you and your son. And you've been able to set healthy boundaries and call out behaviors that you're not feeling comfortable with. And it works itself out. Clearly you were checking in with your boyfriend to the point where he had a harder time lying to himself, because up until that point he was. And so your progress has been great. So good for you.
Well, thank you so much, and congrats on your baby. I'm guessing she's going to be here before
sooner than later.
Too long?
Yeah, sooner than later. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Thank you for catching up and the advice, and I'll keep working on it.
I appreciate it. All right, well, keep us posted.
Right. Will do. Thank you so much.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, that was an update. Do we have another writer-inner?
Yes. So our next writer-inner is our caller, Alex. So she originally called in on episode 640, needing help setting boundaries with her mom about her mom's relationship. Her mom is 61 and had been dating this guy for just over a year and had been really up and down, on and off. He'd moved in with her, and then they got into an argument, and she came to a family barbecue, but he stayed home. And she was just like, every time I talk to her, she's in one place. The next day it's a 180, and it's getting exhausting. I tell her she deserves better, but it's just like, she's done so much for me, but I can't keep dealing with these ups and downs of her relationship.
All right, let's play maybe a mini clip for them.
I need help setting boundaries with my mom with her sort of unstable romantic relationship. They're just on and off. They've been dating for like a year, and he moved in at the end of June and has already moved out, and then moved back in and left again. He's gone to a different state now, and she's like just doesn't know what's happening with it. And it's all she can talk about.
How old's your mom?
My mom is 61.
Gotcha. And when you say you need help setting boundaries, are you looking for boundaries like for yourself to set with your mom because she's just kind of annoying you? Or are you trying to help your mom set boundaries with herself with this guy so she's not wasting any more time, or all of the above? Like what specifically is the problem that we're trying to solve?
I think my mom is incredible and she deserves the world. And like a non-negotiable for me would be leaving twice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How long they been dating for?
They were dating for a year.
So your mom's only known this guy for a year.
Correct.
And in that year,
And he moved in way too soon.
yeah, but in that year, too soon or not, they've lived together twice. They've had too many divorces.
Basically, yeah. I mean, fully packed up all of his stuff. We were at like a different family function and she was watching on her like Ring camera. She thought that they were just in an argument and she left and was getting notifications and he was fully moving all of his stuff out. Like he went through the whole house, took out every picture out of every picture frame. I mean, like all I want is for mom to be happy at the end of the day, you know? But now it's sort of like when she's in this relationship, she's gone and I don't hear from her. She doesn't, she's fully in it. And then as soon as he leaves or they break up, it's all I'm getting is like texts. And she's coming, like last week, she just like came over one morning, like, I have work. She can be reactive and I don't want to. She's already upset about
So
this.
mom can be reactive. Okay. Because I feel like this is less about your mom and her boyfriend and more about you and your mom. You
100%.
know, to say that you're calling us and you'll listen to your mom. Your mom has no problem coming over at the butt crack, of the morning. Okay, whatever. But mom has no problem.
I mean, I have a job.
Yeah. So mom has no problem knowing that like maybe she's busy with work and she's just going to show up, not even bring coffee. And you are afraid of saying quite literally anything to your mom. And yet your mom clearly has no problem with kind of being curt, almost to the point of rude at times, that person who's just like, hey, I'm just going to be honest, I got to speak my truth. And so there's obviously this huge power dynamic shift. Well, not shift. There's this huge power dynamic disparity between you and your mom. You don't need to like bring you into the equation to like articulate to your mom that this behavior that she's putting up with is unacceptable. You know what I'm saying? Like this is like baseline, would be acceptable for anyone. You say, Mom, you've raised me to be a wonderful woman who respects herself and doesn't put up with yada, yada, yada. I'm so grateful the way you raised me. And so I want to pay it forward because I know when I'm triggered and I'm invested in someone, it's hard for me to see the forest through the trees. So I'm just paying it forward to you, Mom. Like I'm just basically reminding you of the things that you taught me. I'm reminding you of, standing up for myself the way you taught me to stand up for myself. Make sure that your mom feels like anything you do in your relationship, you learn from her, whether it's true or not, and just almost make her feel like that she is just not seeing it because she's like everyone else who gets emotionally invested in a situation, is not thinking as clearly as they otherwise would. But you're doing this because you love her, and I think that's the message that you really need to like really push on her and articulate that you like at the end of the day, Mom, I just want you to be happy. And it makes me sad that you're wasting so much of your wonderful energy on this guy who just, you don't deserve to be treated this way. And if your mom is going to get upset at you for saying that, let her. You let her calm down. You let her come back to you when she's ready to have that conversation that you're entitled to have. Mom ain't going anywhere. And in the moment your mom realizes that you're able to enforce a boundary and you're able to stay calm when she reacts, that she'll come around. And you're just kind of reshaping the dynamic with you and your mom's relationship.
So Alex writes, hey, Viall team, thanks for reaching out. I did take Nick's advice about setting boundaries with my mom around a number of things. Our relationship has been pretty good for the last 6-ish months since I talked to you guys. My mom got to a really low place with her breakup to the point where I was really worried about her, but luckily she came out the other side of that and has been doing pretty well. She even went on a date with someone new a few weeks ago. Everything seemed to be on the up and up, and she was moving on with her life until she dropped the bomb last week that she was going to meet him for a week to talk. Whatever that means. Interesting.
Meet them for a
They are
week
to-
to talk. That's a long conversation.
They are together now, and I haven't heard much from her since she's been there, other than they were talking and they were there. Should be interesting to see what she has to say when she gets back. I have a feeling that this is going to set her back a while. I'll let you guys know what my mom says when she's back from her trip with the guy. Have you ever heard of someone saying, like, we need to go talk and, like, reconnect and figure out what happened? And it's like, not only will we do it over the phone, I will fly and stay with him for a week and we'll discuss.
How old her mom?
61.
I mean, I have just learned this is tough being single in general. And it's, I think, even harder at an older age. Think of all the people who call in, right, in their 20s, early 30s. And I'm always saying, you're so young, you know? And I'm saying this to them because they say things like, well, I've been with them for so long and I don't want to start over. We always try to remind our audience of like, listen, learn from this, move on. Let's not waste any more energy. But, we must acknowledge that it is difficult to move on from people. And the fear of starting over is real, even if you're 22. So imagine being 61. So it's just harder. And I've seen it firsthand. With people who just have a hard time letting go, and it think of it. It's very easy for us to settle. And by settle, I mean I don't know, whatever. I don't need this. I don't need that. I just need X, Y, or Z. I don't need a man who really pays attention to my love language. I just want someone I can travel with. I have my kids, whatever. I just need to be good enough. I don't even need to be that kind because I don't need to spend all my time with them. I just want a companion I can talk to 3 or 4 times a week. So they start diminishing what they think they can expect or deserve and things like that. It's just hard, So I think the best thing you can do, keep loving on your mom, keep supporting her. I don't think it's going to do much good lecturing her on the decisions she's make that's maybe not helping herself. Just you kind of almost really have to be. It's like they always say, we die the same way we're born, in diapers, so to speak. I know it's a little morbid. But I'm just saying, I think with 60, 70-year-olds dating, you almost have to treat them like 18 and 19-year-olds dating because I think it's so scary. And even though they're 60 or 7 and they have all this life experience, when it comes to dating, it feels like it's a young person's game and all the technology that's involved now. And so you just have to give them a lot of grace and a lot of support.
And I think that's what was so endearing about the season of The Golden Bachelor is watching these people date again, try to fall in love again after having, for a lot of them, a lifelong partner that they met in their 20s or very early in life. And even the really saddening but true quotes of once you get old, people just forget about you. And there's not the same excitement or value put on us at a later age. So I don't know.
I think the best thing you do is maybe just let your mom know and just, good that moms should is honest with yourself. Mom, you didn't go to talk to him for a week. Come on. Hey, you went and you used them for a vacation. That's fine. But let's not, let's be honest with ourselves about what we were actually doing. You took a free trip. Good for you. You deserve it. You're 61. But you know what you're doing, Mom. Unfortunately, that's a sign that this guy has some sort of power over her, has some influence and money, and can buy his way back into her mom's good graces by taking her on a trip. And as long as she's emotionally strong enough, then, maybe she could take advantage of that. But it's a little tricky. But let us know how it goes, the week talk that is required.
Yeah, I want an update once her mom gets home.
Do we know if
trip.
this guy has kids or whatever?
I need so much information about this man.
Well, think about it. If you're dating a guy, right? Think of all the fuck boys out there, right? And boys will be boys, right? Even as they get into their 60s or 70s. So what do you think a man who, let's say, has money and kids already? A guy who's divorced, maybe he's already had 2 wives. He's got 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5 kids. I don't know. And money, right?
This is also, I feel like this is also a pattern for them, the really long kind of regroups, because even in her original email, it was he packed up, because after he moved in, he packed up all of his stuff and left.
Yeah, I
then
remember.
they got together and talked for 5 hours.
No, I
week
remember
later,
her.
they went on a 2-week road trip.
Yeah, this is their thing.
Yeah.
It honestly reminds me of a relationship I'm familiar with.
Do you think it's just sometimes you I've met people like this where it's they actually feel more and they feel really fulfilled, scratching the itch of emotion and diving deep into problems and issues and trying to resolve it. So
we've all been like that.
Create these situations.
Yeah. Getting back together, breaking up, it's intense. And intensity is dramatic and drama is fun. It's kind of always roots back to the things we talk about. But yeah, there's something to be said about that. It's entertaining. But think about it. When guys if a guy is has grandkids, has kids, has ex-wives and money, how invested do you think some of these men are in actually finding someone they want to settle down with? No, they probably want to be old fuck boys and travel with different women and have fun. I don't know how old this guy is, but if he already has kids, he already has ex-wives, how committed to actually finding a life partner is this guy? And the reason why he comes and goes, maybe is because like at the end of the day, he's not. And he is able to, like you point out, have these kind of dramatic reunions every once in a while. So I don't know. But at the end of the day, as long as she's safe and as long as she's having fun, the worst things in the world. All right, let's get to our second caller. Welcome back, Ryan.
Hey, well, glad to be back. Thanks for having me back.
So, Ryan, you were on not too long ago. You had a situation going on with a lady, if I remember correctly, a bit of a long-distance situation. She seemed to be kind of in her fuckboy era, if I remember correctly. It seemed to be a little bit, but maybe in your words, Ryan, why don't you bring us up to speed about what you called in for the first time? We'll play a clip as well, but would love to hear from you. What your original problem was, what did we talk about, what was the advice I gave you, et cetera, and then what's the update?
Yeah, so I called in not too long ago to let you know that I was seeing a girl who I met originally on Twitter. We'd been friends for a really long time. She had just visited me for a week. I had visited her a month before for a weekend, and it was very hot and cold, very touch and go. I was more committed, more invested than she was. And your advice to me was to just kind of lean into the environment that she was creating. Kind of, you said, don't play the games per se, but kind of like match the energy that she was giving to me. I did that, and it's over.
Okay, and, tell us. Well, honestly, that's great news.
Yeah,
you might be sad, but there's nothing worse.
It's fresh.
Okay,
it happened last week, weekend. A couple days ago, really.
Well, first, let's play a quick clip for the people who didn't get to listen to episode 659, just to bring them a little bit up to speed. How's it going?
It's going good. I am Ryan. I am 26, and I am dating a girl I met on Twitter who also lives 800 miles away.
How long you guys been talking?
We've been friends for a really long time. We became friends like 3 years ago, and we met through Twitter. We had mutual friends. And then we actually met in person like 2.5 years ago. She actually was living in a different city at the time, ended up moving here. We started hanging out a lot. We became really close. And then she ended up moving away. And we still were generally good friends. My relationship that I was in when we met ended. So we were both single. Things just didn't work out. She ended up moving away. I'm still here, obviously. And then over this past summer, she kind of started to resurface like on the margins. Like she would like my tweets or my Instagram stories. And I was like, okay, like this is kind of weird, but whatever. And then she started texting me just like straight up. She was like, hey, like, what's up? Like, haven't talked to you in a while. And she is no longer in that other relationship from last winter. That ended very poorly. And so I knew she was single again. So she started to hit me up again. And so that cultivated with then, I miss you. I miss, having you in my life. And I do feel better about like how I feel about you now. Like, I like you. I want to like start talking to you again. And just like this whole, and it was really sweet, actually. And it was very long. That's like the cliff notes, obviously. But it was like validating almost, like to have that apology and like have my feelings validated almost. And I was like, okay, I appreciate that. Thank you for saying all that. And, so then we've been talking like every day since then. And that was like 3 months ago. I ended up going to see her in her city about a month ago, a little over a month ago. Went great. It was really awesome. Like we spent a weekend together. We went on a date. Like it was really cool, really fun. And then she actually just left last week. She spent a week with me. So we talked about like what this is kind of, and like what this is going to be.
Well, that's a great question. Because what is it? Because it sounds are you guys in a committed relationship, or you're just seeing each other, or what?
Yeah. So I asked her about this when she was here, when she visited me. I was like, so like, what is this? What is this going to be? Like, am I your boyfriend? Like, what is happening? And she goes, well, I don't want to like call you my boyfriend because in the past, like I've used relationships as a distraction from my real life. And she goes, well, like we're dating. And I go, okay, are we exclusive? Are we like not? I go, and I said, my card's on the table. I'm not seeing anybody else. I don't plan to see anyone else. Like, I like you. I want to be committed to you. And like, that's not really ever been my thing, seeing multiple people or talking to multiple people. I've never like felt good about that. And she goes, no, I'm not seeing anybody else either. And she said this to me. She said, I don't like doing the situationship thing. Like, I like you. I'm not seeing anybody else. I said, okay, so like, then what is next? And then this was kind of weird. When we were talking about it, she goes, well, you know, if you wanted to talk to other people, like, I give you permission, like, you can if you want. And I was like, I just said I don't want to.
I hate that. Yeah. So here's the thing. It's obvious to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if she was willing to call you her boyfriend, you would be more than happy to call her your girlfriend. And the reason that you guys aren't saying that right now is because she's resistant, not you.
Yeah, like she is very much like wanting to slow play it. And I mean, we've only been like dating for like a month ago was when we first hung out for the first time in a couple of years.
This has nothing to do with pace, because you don't strike me as someone who's trying to push her to go at a pace that she isn't willing to go. And quite frankly, this woman has been involved in your life for a couple years now. You've been interested for a couple of years now. You have gone at her slow ass pace this whole time. At some point, just be like, maybe you're just not ready for the same thing I'm ready for. Tell her, if I want to date other people, I'll let you know. I don't need your permission. You know,
yeah, like I can just do that. Yeah.
Yeah. She's not your mom. She's not even your girlfriend. I don't need your permission to date other people. I'll do that if I want to. And then, you know, I'm an upfront guy. If I decide that I want to not pursue you anymore and date other people, I'll let you know. But I'm not looking for your permission. I want us to move this relationship forward. And we can go whatever pace that what's comfortable for us. I don't care how slow we go. I just don't want to sit there and like constantly wonder if we're on the same page. For whatever reason, she is not taking you seriously. Tell her how you're feeling and what you want and expect from her, and make it feel like, listen, honestly, whatever you decide, cool. But like, as much as I like you, like I am just getting a little frustrated with constantly feeling confused about this whole thing. You know, you're great, but like, you know, this is getting a little much. Okay, right. And you're like, so you got off the call with us. How did you feel about what I said? What resonated the most? And what did you do with that information?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like your advice was good. Like, I felt definitely like I had not a sense of direction, but like a sense of what I should do going forward. And so I kind of just did that. We still talked, we texted here and there, but I definitely kind of pulled back to match her energy a little bit. And then from 4 days, including New Year's Eve, we just didn't talk. Like, there was just no texts, no calls, nothing. And then she came out of the woodwork like a couple days after New Year's Eve and said, hey, like, I was really sick last week. Sorry, I haven't been talking, but also you didn't text me on New Year's Eve. So like, are we fighting? And I was like,
she said that to you.
She said this to me. And I was like, no, I'm not happy, but like, we're not like fighting per se. And
so you said, no, we're not fighting, but I'm not happy.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, like I'm like annoyed, but I'm not like considering that we're fighting, because also how can you fight with someone when you're not talking to them for 4 days?
Gotcha.
So
you technically didn't take my advice. That's okay.
Well, so I'm getting there. Come on. Give me some slack. So then she texts me. She's like, okay, well, my
because do you realize, Ryan, that in that moment, her saying, "Are we fighting?" is her just trying to manipulate you. Whatever she was doing, not to reach out to you during New Year's Eve, and it's funny because we've talked about a lot of this recently, just because it is the holidays, and there always seems there is no greater like buzzkill for a situationship or like an early dating situation. It's also like a really good like test to like how strong whatever connection's going on in the holiday break. You know, when people kind of like, even, it doesn't matter if they're in school or anything like that. I know there's like a natural break when you're in school or college or whatever, but like the holiday break that everyone goes through whether it's work, they go back home, they visit family. And it's like so many like situationships like just go to die, so to speak, because there's always so much else going on. So whatever she was doing, maybe it was just family. For her to say that to you, knowing the history of this relationship, that she was always in control, she was the one kind of doing her thing, you were checking in with her more than she was checking in with you. And then the fact that you chose not to check in with her, knowing that there was no expectations for you guys to check in because you're not boyfriend and girlfriend. There's no there's no requirement to do so. She didn't check in with you either. You know, it's not like she reached out and you ignored her. You just didn't reach out. And so
Yeah.
she was like, are we fighting? Immediately putting you on the defense, you know?
Yeah.
So that's just her manipulating the situation and you kind of took the bait by giving the honest answer, which is that you're irritated, which lets you know that you care and puts her in a position of power. The best thing to do in that situation, it's over now, so it doesn't really matter. It would have been like, well, what do you mean? I'm confused. Why would I be mad? You know?
Yeah. So what ended up happening is like I texted. So like when I answered that, I said like, yeah, like I'm annoyed. Like, you know, it's been like 4 days, haven't heard from you. Also, like you're an hour ahead of me. So New Year's Eve happened for you first. So why would I be the one to text you first?
Sure. Yeah. It doesn't even matter. She was just trying to put you in.
Yeah. So then she goes, oh, well, my mom is leaving. We've both been really sick, but when my mom leaves Thursday, can I FaceTime you? And I was like, fine, like, sure, whatever. So a couple days later, we FaceTime and we talked about like, at first, when we first got on the FaceTime, and she just like immediately like started talking about like nothing. Like she was just like chit chatting. And I was just like, no, like I still want to talk about like last week because that was shitty. And so we talked about it and like she said she apologized and whatever. And so like then after that, things were like kind of back to normal by the standards of what they were, I guess. And like we were talking back and forth. I was supposed to, like, we had plans for me to go there and see her for this weekend that just passed. Obviously didn't go, but so then like it was fine. Then she like pulled back again. Like I kind of saw the writing on the wall. So then like talked about it with my therapist. Like we like kind of came to a plan, whatever. So a couple days before I was supposed to go to like literally get on a plane to see this woman, I texted her and like we had been texting already that day, but I was like, hey, like, I just want to make sure that like you actually want me there. Like you actually, and she's like, yeah, of course. Like I do, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right. Like and then she goes on this whole thing. Like, you can always ask me for reassurance. I want you to feel good, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, just wanted to make sure like that you actually want me to be there. Like went out of my way to make it a point. And then that was on a Wednesday. That was on Wednesday. Thursday, we were texting. She was like, I'm so excited to see you. Like, we're going to do this, that, and the other. I was like, great, cool, whatever. Thursday night, go to sleep, say goodnight, whatever. And then I get up, like, whatever, get a glass of water in the middle of the night. And I'm like, let me just like look at my phone really fast. And I didn't have a text from her, but I had a text from one of my friends. And it just said, what the fuck is this? And I go, well, that's interesting. So I open it and it was a tweet that she had sent after I went to sleep. And I will read it for you. The tweet reads as follows: moved to the city, and yet I still have to gravitate towards the one man in the bar who is from Boston. So this is like 24 hours before I'm supposed to be there. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I sent it to her and I was like, what is this? Like, I'm supposed to see you in like 24 hours. Like, what the fuck? And she doesn't answer for like a long time. Like, I'm at work on Friday. She sends me this whole long thing. When I was there, we talked about how we're not exclusive. I'm single. Yeah. I can see whoever I want. I could talk to whoever I want. Like, and then she brought up her Instagram story, which I never even mentioned. And it was like, she was explaining her Instagram story of a text thread that she had posted. Never even thought twice about that, but I was like, okay, whatever. And she was like, you know, I'm single. I can talk to who I want. Like, I told you I was going to prioritize school and my relationships with my friends here. And so like, you can't be mad about me. She goes, and by the way, like, I didn't approach this guy. He approached me and my friends and we just exchanged chit chat. Like, nothing even happened. And I was like, all right, then like, why did you say you gravitate towards this person? Like, that's weird. Like, that's a weird way to say that, like, before I'm supposed to see you. And so like, we're beefing, like we're set like paragraphs back and forth, ends with like
paragraphs back and forth.
Do
we have any of these?
Like, yeah, I'll read some of them. It was like Cliff Notes. Can you see how that, like, I was like, I understand what we talked about when you were here. Like, I understand that we're not exclusive, but can you see how that's a slap in the face for me to read, like, right before I'm supposed to come see you? But, like, eventually, like, she at first was not saying, like, sorry about that at all. And finally, she did acknowledge, like, that was in poor taste. I apologize for that. She goes, you're way more invested than me. True. And, you know, I think that it's a bad idea for you to come this weekend. I go, I agree. It's a bad idea for me to come because if I'm there all weekend and we're like sleeping in the same bed and we're going out and doing stuff together, like, I'm going to think that this is like a relationship, and clearly it's not. And clearly that's not going to happen. And she said, like, yeah, like, all I can offer you as far as commitment right now is casual situationship. And it doesn't seem like you can handle that. And I was like, you're right. Can't. Like, never going to be able to with you, especially. Like, not built like that, not that type of person, especially when it comes to you. So I was like, it's fine. I'll cancel the flight, like whatever. But then it got weird because then she like started rambling like to herself. Then like some of the stuff she said, like, I'm sorry for not being more clear about my intentions. They're doing things that could be interpreted more seriously than I meant. I still do really like you and want you in my life and never wanted you to feel like I didn't like you or care about you. Not wanting to be in a relationship has nothing to do with you specifically. And I know you'd never keep me from my career goals or anything. There's just a lot of stuff going on for me. And I know I can't give someone what I feel like is the appropriate amount of care and attention they deserve. I'm sad to not see you, but I do agree it's for the best. But this doesn't mean we're never going to see each other again. LOL. I meant take a step back more in the context of you not coming, but I absolutely still want you in my life and want to be friends and talk. I do like you and I just want to protect your feelings and I want you to do whatever is going to hurt you the least. Then continued. I was like, all right, cool. Like,
did you respond to
thanks. I was just like, okay, like, got it.
What exactly did you say?
I said, thank you for apologizing. Like, I want to be friends too, but like, thanks for considering my feelings. That's clearly not going to happen right now. I said, always going to cheer for you and hope you achieve your goals. You mean a lot to me too. Sorry, like that this isn't going to happen this weekend, blah, blah, blah. And then she said, I don't know, like then we agreed, blah, blah, not coming. Okay, cancel the flight. Then she goes on, like, this was unprompted. I do deeply care for you always and want what's best for you. And I'm sorry if I was very blunt and straightforward today. I just want to be like very real about where I'm at. And I know I said this a while ago, but like, as far as you thinking, does she like me? Does she hate me romantically or not? I do not waste my time on people. Like I do suck at texting back sometimes, but I don't actively keep people I don't like around. And you have never done anything to hurt me. Didn't think I did, but cool. Thanks. And then I said, always here if you ever need anything. Happy for you and everything you're accomplishing.
Wait, you
Thanks
said
for the
that?
apology. I said this then, yeah. I said, appreciate the apology. Glad you were straightforward. It needed to be said. Then again, unprompted.
Okay, just one note, Ryan.
What's up?
Never tell someone you'll always be there for them.
Yeah, that was...
When you're, you know?
I was being too nice.
Yeah, I want to keep hearing it. And I really like you because, you know, you remind me of me when I was, you know, earlier in my life. You were built slightly different than the average guy, you know. How tall are you?
6'2".
Oh, my God. See, you guys can't see Ryan right now, but he's a handsome, dark-haired, great beard guy. He's 6'2". I didn't even know that. I'm looking at him. So he's 6'2", super attractive guy, but he has a heart, and he's a sweet guy. And he's in it, you know, he's going to therapy, he cares, you know, and here you are being taken for granted by a fuckboy who just happens to be a woman. You like her. You know what you like, right? And you know that you like her right now. And you are in a position in your life. Maybe it's because you're in therapy. Maybe it's just because this is where you're at. You know, you've had enough of relationships in the past that didn't go the way you are. Maybe you just fancy yourself as a one-woman guy who never really had a massive fuckboy era. But she is going through that right now. And at the end of the day, she does like you. You know, that's why she keeps saying shit like this that you see as confusing. That's not really confusing. She likes you, but is the operative word, being like what she prioritizes more than anything right now is her own independence. She recently moved to a new city, it sounds like, based on her tweet. And right now she just wants to be selfish. I don't know her dating history, but my guess is she's probably dealt with some fuckboys of her own. And when she says, well, you never really hurt me, that's not, yeah, of course, you're like, oh, I knew that. I didn't need to say that. That's her projecting other men in her life who have hurt her, my guess. And she's acknowledging that despite maybe other men in her life, you haven't done what so many other men have done to her, which is hurt her feelings or make her feel used. And you're unfortunately just on the receiving end of her. We're just prioritizing herself right now, right? And then you're capable of, you don't need to like shop around to verify your feelings towards her. And she does, right? She likes you, but she also doesn't want to commit to you, doesn't want to have to not tweet about an experience when she goes to the bar. She just wants this ultimate freedom. So anytime you're responding to someone like that, you know, that's again about trying to take control and power back in the situation. You got to almost, again, like take a step back and think about it from the position of like, well, how I would see it, right? Where it's just like, you're secure and comfortable with where you're at. You happen to like this person, so that makes you feel a little bit out of control. But what you are in control of is what you want for yourself in your life. How old are you again?
26.
You're 26. So you're still relatively young, but you have a good job. You live in a cool city. You know, you're taking care of your mental health through therapy. Like, you know, you got a lot of shit figured out. And, you know, you might go through a period of, you know, not feeling like your best self, but the fact that you have so many pieces in your life, you know, put together that you'll deal with your shit if shit goes south, so to speak. You're already dealing with it now. You have a nice support system. So when you are dealing with people who aren't, right? When you talk to them, you have to come across as like, again, it's more like, hey, listen, you know, I get it. It's fine. I just know what I want. And that's how you can piss her off. It's just like, listen, I get it. You're just at a point in your life where you're only capable of prioritizing yourself. And you could say, I'm not trying to even be a dick. Like, I've been like that, but like, I get it. And right now, like, I'm at a point in my life where I am capable of pursuing people I really like. And you're just not in that position. So like, no hard feelings, but you're right. Like, we just shouldn't hang out because like, you're just not in that position right now. You know what I'm saying? You got to talk to her as if like you were giving her advice that she's not asking for. It would just piss her the fuck off. You set a boundary. You didn't handle it perfectly. You know what I'm saying? You almost gave her too much power. But the fact that you did stand your ground, you didn't wallow and complain. You did say, hey, listen, do you really want me to come out here? I have expectations. I like you, you know? And that took power for you to say. It took guts. And the fact that she's pulling away, that's why she's panicking, because she does like you. She doesn't like you enough, so to speak. So don't give her access to you now. So what she's going to do in the future, she's going to try little things to hang out or check in. And she's going to want to see if she can still get you to respond. And the best thing to do, you know, because you obviously still like her, you haven't gotten over it. It's still, you know, and honestly, she might come around. She really might. But to come around, you're going to have to be very tactful. You're basically going to have to mostly ignore her. And then when you do respond, be like, hey, it's good to hear from you. Like, again, like, it's just like, you have to backtrack on I'll always be there for you. Or yeah, we'd love to be friends. And it's that classic, it's like, hey, listen, it's like nice to hear from you. But like I said, like, I got too many friends. I'm good. But like, I didn't think of you as just a friend. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's not saying, oh, why can't we be friends? I didn't think of you as just a friend. Of course you were friends with her. You'll be friends with whoever you end up dating. You know, they'll be your best friend, but they're not going to be just your friend. And it's why can't we be friends? No, it's that we can't be just friends. We've had sex together because I like you. I think you're pretty because I'm around you. I feel chemistry, all those obvious reasons that she's going to play dumb to. So if she does reach out and you ever feel like responding, you just have to say, hey, listen, like, it's more, I have things figured out and I want to spend time with people who also have things figured out. And I think it's great that you're figuring it out, but I'm just not in a position to be in your life while you're figuring things out and already have things figured out.
Yeah.
And that will piss her off, but it'll piss her off in the best possible way.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, like the panicking, like, I think she started to panic, like, as it was, like, because even like you say, like, she starts like reaching out or saying like, whatever, like, let's hang out, whatever. Like, it started even in this conversation, because then she like continues to just talk unprompted. She's like, I know I said we should take a step back, and I do think so, but I'm not attracted to you sexually. Like, we don't have to sit here and be formal friends. I do want to do whatever is best for your feelings, and I feel like we should take a little step back so you can kind of reset, but don't feel like you can never text me like we should make out. I don't know why that feels so awkward to say, because it's weird. And that's my anecdote.
Yeah, I mean, not only does she think you're good, she likes having you around. If she was in the right place for a boyfriend, she would totally date you. But right now, she's just, how old is she?
She's a year older than me, so 27.
Okay. So like, she probably kind of hates a little bit that you're younger. She also, feels very in control. She is definitely just wondering if you're good enough. That's all it is. She thinks you're pretty good, but her ego thinks she can do better, is the God's honest truth. Otherwise, she'd date you. She's shopping around. And it's not just you. Part of her is just like, no one would be good enough right now. The only person who would be good enough for her right now is someone that would absolutely blow her. Like, you know what I'm saying? Someone that she thought would be like, I can't believe they like me. It would have to be her white whale. And that doesn't work out, right? because that person would just fuck around with her. And she's unfortunately going to have to figure out her shit. She almost needs to be put in her place with someone before she appreciates what she would have with you. So the best thing you can do is just not play into her little games. Keep in mind, every time right now she's reaching out to you, it is not about anything other than making sure she can get you to respond. It is just about making sure she can still get access to you, that you're still there on some level. You know what I'm saying? That's all it's about. It's not about anything else. So stop acting like confused. Stop trying to break it down with your friends. Don't send screenshots to your 5 girlfriends and be like, what does this all mean? That's what it means, is that she knows that she doesn't want to cheat on you. She doesn't want to be a terrible girlfriend to you, but she likes you. And what she really wants right now is her independence, her freedom, the ability to do whatever she wants, the ability to have sex with you, have you come visit, to play house once in a while. But when you're not there, when you're in Chicago and she is wherever she lives, she wants her freedom to do whatever the fuck. And that's her main priority. And she's going to try to have her cake and eat it too. And she's going to come up with all these different like reasons why it's okay and yada, yada, why she can do what she does with you, but still have her independence. And it is all okay. It's just up to you to decide whether what's okay for you or not. And she's trying to convince you to be okay with what she wants. And that's what it's all about, right? And the more calm you can be, and the more just like sure of yourself and not play the game of trying to understand her. I don't think she's deliberately trying to be confusing, but that's the benefit that the fuck boys have and the fuck girls or whatever, is to get you to spend your emotional energy with your pals and your girlfriends trying to figure out what they mean by what they do or say. Because while you're busy figuring it out, you're emotionally invested in them.
Yeah. And because I went out with my friends, obviously, since I was here, and they were like asking me like what happened. And when my roommate's girlfriend like asked to read the text, and I was just like, yeah, like I know she's gonna Nick, I can feel it in my bones. Like in like 3 weeks,
yeah,
she's gonna text me and like want me to come visit again.
Yeah.
Like just like from the phrasing of like, oh, a reset for you, a step back as far as this weekend. And I'm just like, I'm never gonna be there. Like I'm never gonna be able to just do that. Like it's
but like, here's what you have to say, like don't sell it as like you're a good guy. You don't have to put out there that like, that's just not who I am. I'm not that type of guy. Like I almost want you, it's not about you being the nice guy or the good guy. You are, that's all that matters. Because with her, that's not going to work with her. You are the guy who's realized that in the nicest possible way, you're just kind of above her little games that she's playing. You're just like kind of over it,
Right.
And so that's what, you don't stop saying, that's just not who I am. I'm not like, I don't do stuff like that. You're just more like, listen, I just don't have time for the back and forth. It's just like, it's too whatever. Like if you were in a position to be in a serious relationship, because listen, I like you, but you're not, and that's okay. It's totally okay. I'm okay. Trust me, I'm really fine. But like, I'm just not interested. You got to use words like that. I'm not interested in what you're interested in, because that's being powerful. You saying things like, well, I don't think I could handle that. Ask yourself, anytime you're texting her back, does it sound like you're in control, or does it sound like you're trying to appease her or making her feel comfortable? Because, as a guy and being a nice guy, and the nice guy that you are, it's in your nature when you respond to be a gentleman, to be a nice guy, to always make sure that she's feeling comfortable. And I don't want you to lose that. I'm not trying to take that away from you. I love that you are a nice guy and that's who you should be. But you can be a nice guy and still let her know that you're a man who knows what he wants, that is confident in himself, that doesn't have time to be wasted on people who who aren't sure of themselves. And especially as a guy who's a little bit younger than her, giving her the type of energy that you have your shit figured out and you just don't have time for her antics is the energy you want to bring to her. Always read through your text before you send it. Words like, well, I just don't think I can handle that. That would be too difficult for me, et cetera, et cetera. Don't say any of that shit. It's I don't have time for that. That's just not, it's not convenient for me. I've been there, done that. I'm just not in that place. I think you still have things to figure out. That's okay. I've been there before, but it's shit like that, which is all true. And you just politely and nicely point that out, that you are in a kind of a higher mental, emotional state than she is right now. And she can get there, but until she does, you don't have time for it.
Yeah, that's like definitely the better way to frame. Like, I don't have to, like, I just don't have time for it. Like, it's exhausting. I don't want to like waste my time on like that. Like,
and listen,
like I'm good.
You're only texting her, so like proofread this shit, and you don't have to rush to respond. And reread it. How does it sound? How do you read it out loud to yourself? It's just these few key phrases that when you're so. You always want to make it like, and it makes you a great guy. You always want to make sure that she feels comfortable. That's a great quality to have. And it's in your nature when you respond to never say anything that would upset her or frustrate her. But it's okay to upset her. It's okay to frustrate her with the obvious. You don't say anything to hurt her feelings. Don't say anything to be mean. But you're just pointing out that you're going to be okay, that you're fine, that that you're ready to be in a relationship with the right person. And clearly she's not. And until she is, you're just like, you just don't have time to fly to Boston to get laid. There's plenty of women in Chicago. Don't say that, you can, but you're not saying like, I just, there's, you can say like, listen, there are plenty of people in Chicago for something casual. I'm looking for something a little bit more meaningful. So like a casual long distance thing is just not for me.
Yeah. Like I'm way good on that. Like if you want to if you like me and you want to be invested, great. But like, otherwise, like I'm way good. I don't need to waste my time otherwise. Yeah.
And don't say things like way good or very, just ask yourself, am I overselling this? Use the least amount of words and say the least while implying the most, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You never say more than you need to. Never try to oversell. It's always like when you're reading it back, does it sound like, even though you might proofread it and you might crowdsource and you might like take a few minutes, the energy when she reads it is as if you finally got to her text, and while driving when you shouldn't have, because you have a million things going on, you finally got to a response and you just didn't have a lot of time to think it through. You just sent it. So it comes across as a little short, a little curt, but a matter of the fact, but not mean. And that's the energy you want. Because yeah, you're right. Clockwork, she'll be back. She'll be back until either one or two things happen. She knows that she finally doesn't have power over you and she doesn't get a reaction from you. And she realizes she still doesn't want to date you. She'll just stop reaching out. Or, she'll be like, what the fuck? I want to date this guy. But the more you keep making yourself, the more you give her the idea that you will put up with this bullshit, which up until this point you have. You finally saying like, hey, do you really want me out there? Is a start, but you have a long way to go before she realizes that she can't maneuver with you. Because these are all just maneuvers. She wasn't worried about your feelings by not having you come out there. She was worried about her feelings and the pressure and obligation of letting you come out and sleeping with you, knowing that you liked her and she didn't want to deal with your feelings. That's why you didn't come out. It was a completely 100% selfish move on her part. It had nothing to do with her considering your needs.
Yeah. She was thinking about herself, self-preservation.
Yeah. So, and listen, we've all been there. We've all done it. We've done what she's done. She's not a bad person. She's just selfish right now. She's just going through a selfish state. And you just have to show her that you just don't have time for that bullshit. That you're not one of those people who is interested in being part of this stage of her life. And if that stage changes, maybe give you a call and we'll see if you're still around. But you're not pining over her. You're not sad. You'll be okay. You're chill. You just don't, it's just more of it's just a waste of my time. Like, why, I don't need to fly to the East Coast to get laid. I can go to fucking Stout in Chicago. Does Stout still exist?
Yeah.
Yeah. I could walk into Stout, you're 6'2", you got a beard. That's like fishing with dynamite in Chicago.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, no, you're right.
So that's the energy. You don't, and you don't say that, you just give off that energy and go out, have fun.
I'm busy.
Yeah. You're just like, hey, what's up? Sorry, I'm busy. But yeah, I think other than that, like you did a great, this is great news. I know you're a little sad and I know you probably would have liked to fly out and you probably missed the good sex you would have had. But if you do end up with this girl, and that's a big if, this will happen a lot sooner by you playing it this way than what you were about to do. Again, why would anyone commit to someone or accept expectations when the person they're fucking around with isn't demanding that they have any expectations? And, you were saying whatever, saying this, but at the end of the day, she's been able to maneuver with you so that she can have her cake and eat it too. And you're finally saying, no. And the only thing you need to adjust is that you're not sad and you're not waiting around for her. Because right now she's like, okay, he's a little sad, he's a little bummed. And she's like, yeah, you're right. In 2 to 3 weeks, she's going to reach out with the energy of saying, okay, I have time for you now. I'd love to see you. And she is fully expecting for you to jump on that.
Yeah. I mean, I know that, like, I can feel it in my bones that's going to happen. Like, I just know it.
Yeah, but now, between now and then, you need to stop it. You need to stop thinking about it. But don't spend the next 2 or 3 weeks waiting for that phone call and analyzing that phone call, thinking about what you'd say on that phone call. Because if you were anything like me, you would. That's what you would do. You'll think about it 24/7.
Yep.
You stop thinking about it. And I know that's easier said than done, but this is where you policing your thoughts comes in. Because you can, when she pops in your head, you can say, no, Ryan, stop it. I know what's going on. There's nothing to understand. There's no why. Stop talking to your girlfriends about her. Get on the apps. Start dating. Get out there. Be social. Are you on the apps right now?
Not yet.
But I mean, get off the call.
Been a couple days.
Get on the apps because she's on the apps and she'll look for you on the apps. Probably.
Well, that'd be tough.
She can. I
guess adjust the location.
Yeah. Maybe adjust the location. Maybe make it seem like you're in her city. Fuck around.
I do have a friend who lives there, so I did think about still going and just going and staying with my friend.
Okay, maybe in the future, but that's way too much energy. That's you trying way too hard. That's you being way obvious. You gotta be subtle. Just get on forget about like showing up in her feed. Just get on the apps in Chicago. She has friends. It'll get noticed, probably. Either way, what the more important thing is that you're getting back out there, that you are in fact accepting her decision for what it is. And you are not acting like a guy who needs to mourn the loss of a girlfriend because she never was. And yeah, you can be sad or whatever, but get on the apps, start dating. I'm not saying you have to go like on 5 dates next week, but just like start the energy that you are in fact a single free agent man who plenty of women would love to match with. You know, you're a 1%er. You know, you are. I mean, you're just like, you know, you're 26-year-old good-looking guy who's tall, who prioritizes his mental health. Like you truly are in a position that anyone would want. And now you kind of have to act like that in a very humble way without becoming a douchebag or a fuckboy of your own. And you know, you'll feel that energy shift.
All
right. So get off the phone, get on the apps.
All right, will do.
All right. Well, keep us updated when she does reach out. We definitely want to hear from you.
I will let you know.
All right. Don't feel too down. You played it pretty well, man. You did a good job. Do you think you would have done that if you had not called?
How do you mean?
Do you think you would have gone?
Like the first time that I called you guys?
No. Yeah, the first time you called us. Do you think you would have checked in with her and said, "Are you sure you want me to come?"
I wouldn't have. I'm not going to definitely say, like, probably not, honestly. Like, I probably would have just, like, went and hoped for the best and, like, hoped it worked out.
Yeah. Well, next time with someone else, if this happens, what I would have loved for you to do when your buddy sent you that text or message? I would have loved for you to, like, not reach out to her right away. And the next day, calmly to say, hey, listen, something came up. Coming out doesn't feel right. I don't think I'm going to make it this week. And not tell her why. She's not your girlfriend. You don't owe her an explanation. There is that. And let her stew and be like, what, why can't you? Whatever. And then you could have casually said, hey, listen, my buddy sent me this. Again, you're not my girlfriend. You have every right to tweet this. But I just decided for myself that, like, it was clear to me that, like, we're just not on the same page. You know, like, I'm ready to, like, you know, I think you're great and I would date you. And you right now, you're clearly just out there playing the field, which again, you have every right to. I just want, like, I hate it when the fuck boys, so to speak, get to say, well, I told you we weren't boyfriend and girlfriend, you know, even though you felt like entitled and in some ways you could have, right? Like, it felt wrong what she did. It's like, hey, I'm flying out there and we're clearly going to hook up, and, like, you're putting it out there on the internet and the place that we met that you're, like, flirting with other guys. It was fucked up of her, but she did have every right to do that. And you always lose in those situations when you get the fuck boy to get to be able to say the thing that they've already told you that they have a right to do, yada, yada, yada. So instead of calling them out for something they technically have the right to do, you just decide for yourself that you no longer want to deal with it. And that was just a wake up call to you. And because they have the right to do that, you didn't reach out to them and say, WTF, why'd you do that? Because you knew that they had the right. It was just a wake up call to you to realize, you know what? They do have the right, and I'm just at a different place to them. So I'm sitting this one out. So in the future, I want you to not to react like she's your girlfriend. I want you to react as how she is, which is like, you know what? I'm deciding for myself that this is fucked up and that I don't need this shit, and I'm just not going to go. And that's how I wish you would have handled it. But other than that,
remove myself from the situation.
Yeah, just be like, and let her wonder, let her stew. Let's be like, why did he do this? And eventually you can be like, listen, it's not a big deal, but I saw this. It just rubbed me the wrong way. And then you say the obvious out loud. Again, you have every right to do this. We're not boyfriend and girlfriend. It just like was a wake up call to me that we're just not on the same page. So I just decided not to come. No big deal. I think you're great in my book, but we're just on two different pages. So I think this thing's kind of over. And that's such a power move. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you'll have an opportunity in the future to do it again.
Yeah. Well, in 3 weeks we can use that one.
Yeah. Well, it's a little different now, but you know what to say in 3 weeks. But next time you are in a situationship, if you are ever in one, and you're not boyfriend and girlfriend, and your friends or you catch them doing shit that makes you want to send them a WTF text, and knowing that no matter how fucked up it might be, that technically they can say, well, we're not boyfriend and girlfriend, never give them an opportunity to throw that in your face. Ask yourself, what's the alternative response to, because if you knew as soon as you sent that, at some point she was going to be able to say, you're not my boyfriend, and it's such an annoying thing for them to say. So don't give them the opportunity. All right, man. I appreciate your story. These are all fun and tough lessons. But you're better for it for sure. And you're learning now.
Yeah, no, thanks. Thanks for having me back. I appreciate the advice, man.
All right, man. Well, good luck on everything. Please keep us posted. I'm invested. I want to know more because you're right. She's definitely reaching out.
Yeah, I will. I definitely will. I'll let you know.
All right. Take care, bud.
All right.
Thanks, bye. All right. Do we have another writer enter before we get to our super fun, emotional, happy story of our third caller?
Shocking. But it was so funny to listen to the story and then just see Nick's reaction of just being like, and then what?
Yeah, I just was not expecting the drama.
Kept getting better. Yes. So our final written update is from Olivia. She was our Sweating the Wedding caller who didn't know if she should have her dad, stepdad, or no one walk her down the aisle.
I remember that. Yeah.
And it was kind of a debate back and forth. Natalie helped out with that one in her wedding planning process. So Olivia writes, I was the wedding sweater who was torn between having my dad or my stepdad walk me down the aisle for my wedding. You advised that I let my dad walk me down the aisle on the condition that he puts more effort into our relationship and that I do the father-daughter dance with my stepdad. I ended up mostly following your advice. I let my dad walk me down the aisle, but I didn't provide any conditions for him to have that privilege. I mostly wanted to even out the past. Since my stepdad walked me down the football field for homecoming, I let my dad walk me down the aisle for my wedding. With my decision, I evened out the score, cleared my conscience, and my stepdad said he was completely honored to have the father-daughter dance. The singer messed up the song by forgetting all of the lyrics, but my stepdad didn't seem to notice and said he was happy regardless.
Couldn't you do 2 dances?
Probably. But in her mind, if she wanted to just have one thing
I
mean,
it'd be weird to walk down the aisle twice, so you can only do that once.
Back it up.
And let's do it again. But you could do 2 dances. Like, why couldn't you do 2 dances?
I don't know. Maybe because then in her mind, she's given biological dad 2 and stepdad 1.
I guess, sure. Well, it's her wedding. Whatever. Fuck it. Who gives a shit what I think? It seems like this is what she wanted.
Yep. When making the ultimate decision, it was important for me to remember that at the end of the day, I'm getting to marry my best friend and start a family of our own. Any decisions leading up to our nuptials pale in comparison to who I decide to marry. I'm sure we'll traumatize our future kids in our own way, but I am completely confident and proud to say that I won't be giving them a broken family. My advice to future brides: don't sweat the details and make sure you hire a top-notch band who practices the live songs ahead of time. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk with me, and congrats to you and Natalie on starting your family.
Amazing. That's just like a beautiful little fun update. Yeah.
Love. Sucks about the singer.
What?
Really
Now,
sucks
you
about
know what I'm
the
reminded
singer.
of right now? Natalie woke up in the middle of the night. You know, she's getting close. The hormones are hormoning, I think. I don't know probably what it is. But she woke up in the middle of the night, probably like a dream, being like, I can't sleep. I'm so stressed about all the things we have to do to the wedding. And I'm like, it'll be fine. We'll figure it out. Go to bed. I was like half asleep, tired, and be like, just go to bed. It'll be fine. We'll throw money at it. I don't care. Let's sleep.
That was your solution?
I mean, I was like in a mid sleep. I mean, I didn't. I was just like, well, I promise we'll figure it all out. Please go to bed. She was just having one of those nights where, it's expecting mother. I literally can only imagine. I can't imagine. But I think she was feeling the stresses of all the things that we have coming up. But I tried to reassure her with one eye open. It'll all be fine. Don't sweat the wedding. It'll be fine. However it is, it'll be great.
Amen.
Anyways, it's time for our final caller. It'll bring a smile to your face, however your day is going so far today. This call will leave you with a smile. And hopefully maybe some information if you're at all curious about this surrogacy process. I mean, you'll still have more questions, but you'll get some answered. Let's get to our caller. Welcome back, Megan.
Hey, how's it going?
So good. You called back in 2019.
Yeah.
Like an OG Ask Nick caller way back when. We're going to have to figure out what episode it was and we'll put it in the episode. But in your own words, you were calling in the first time basically wondering if you should reboot your entire life.
Yeah, more or less. So pretty much my husband and I had been married at that point for a couple of years, and we both always envisioned having a family, and we started trying for kids right away because I knew I was going to have some struggles. And then we just could not, we could get pregnant repeatedly. We just couldn't keep a pregnancy. And we, at the point that I had called in, we had tried everything. We had tried IUIs, IVF, all kinds of fertility treatments, and nothing was sticking. And then I was just thinking about my life overall. And I was thinking like, okay, I always wanted to live at the beach or somewhere in nature. And I never really wanted to just be like, living in this area that I'm living in, or like living the life I'm living, more or less. And so I asked you if I should pretty much just uproot everything, kind of start over, and just more or less like stop planning for a future that's clearly not happening for me.
Let's play a quick clip from your original call to bring all of those people and more up to speed with what we talked about.
I have something called PCOS, and it just basically means that my hormones are all over the place, and it affects a lot of things for women's health and particularly fertility. Okay. And so it's just something I always knew was going to be a struggle for me. And I happened to get married very young at 24, and my husband and I just both knew we wanted kids, and we knew that it was going to be really hard for us to have kids. So we decided to start trying right away. We did actually end up getting pregnant within a month of marriage, which was totally unexpected. And unfortunately, we miscarried. And it was just such a difficult and trying thing to go through, especially so early on in the marriage. So we just decided to not try for a year and just take time, to be newlyweds and to enjoy that. So that's what we did. And then we decided to start trying again, and we've been trying for the last 2 years, and we've had multiple losses and failed, fertility treatments. And so at this point, we're just at this crossroads where we're trying to decide, like, do we continue to move forward with fertility treatments and continue to pour, all of our money into it, and just our emotional well-being, like, is so impacted by it. You just don't know how it's going to go, and it's so uncertain. And if we choose that route, how do you possibly prepare yourself for that kind of like constant disappointment and constant, loss essentially? Or do we just kind of like let go of this idea that life was going to turn out a certain way and just kind of enjoy what we have? Because we do have a very, beautiful life, just the two of us. So do we just like pick up and move somewhere we've always wanted to and just enjoy that, and just, have an adventure? And then if we choose that, though, I know you always talk about, Nick, like letting go of how you planned life to be and just living life. But if we do that, like, how do you actually truly do that? Because I find that that's the hard part. Like, it's easy to say, we're just going to let it go. And we're just going to not have kids and we're just going to like enjoy that. But it's so much, there's still so many nights where my heart just like aches for that. And it's hard to actually like accept that. It's easy to say, but it's hard to really live out, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, thanks for calling and sharing. Obviously, this is a very personal story, so we do appreciate you do sharing that with us. You kind of have the idea, right? But you don't know how to like implement it into your life, which is hard to do. Listen, you are still only 27, right? And again, don't know what it's like to be in your shoes, but it sounds like you were aware of this condition that you had early on. And so, okay, I know this condition. I know I have to do this. So, hey, let's try to have kids right away because let's try to get ahead of it. And maybe we'll be lucky enough to have a child and then we won't stress about it anymore because we'll at least have one. And, we can plan our lives. And it hasn't worked out, right? But like you've been trying to be so proactive and now, you've had this disappointment and you've tried to maintain a level of perspective of, hey, I'm still happy and still in love, and maybe we can consider alternatives, but this is not a black and white thing, It's not like you and your husband have to decide to like live or die, so to speak. You're not deciding whether you want to have kids or not, right? You're just deciding to live. You talked about picking up and traveling. I don't know what you and your husband talk about or things that you might want to do that you're not doing now. I can tell you that all sorts of people have kids. All sorts of people with different lifestyles have children. Lots of times people with very unconventional lifestyles who aren't planning on having kids have kids. And I know that's probably like irritating for you to hear because it's like, oh, I want the kid. And they're like, they didn't want the kid and, or they weren't planning on getting pregnant. But the point is you can travel, you can be adventurous, you can live this kind of quote unquote selfish lifestyle because you're maybe thinking, well, if we can't have kids, maybe we can live life for ourselves. And it's not the life that you and your husband maybe planned on. Like we were going to get married at 24 and then at 27, we were going to have kids and, settle down with this house in Virginia or whatever it is, but live your life, whatever it is. And as long as you and your husband are each other's main priority, you might be surprised, Again, I don't know the situation and the money you're spending on fertility, but you can maybe pause that for a time being. Is it possible to not do fertility? And even though it might be harder for you, it's still possible for you and your husband to get pregnant by just simply having sex and getting lucky. Is that true? Or are we past that point for you?
It is. It's still possible. It's just hard because I'm so irregular. Like most people can like track their cycle every month and know when fertility. For us, it's just a total gamble. I might ovulate like 3 times a year. So it's just like, do we happen to get lucky and, have sex on the day that I ovulated? It's just like, it's certainly possible for me, but it's just very hard to plan.
Yeah. I can only try to empathize, but I know that can be emotional. I guess what I'm saying is, go live your life. Give yourself the freedom to live your life. You're only 27. Don't focus what you're doing now. Like your whole life right now is focused on getting pregnant and all the resources you have available. And you're like putting off everything you're doing, travel, vacation, whatever, just so you can try to stop doing that. Yeah. That does not mean you guys decide you're not having kids. Pull the goalie, live your life. You might be surprised, I mean, certainly stress can be a reason why people can't get pregnant and things like that. There are a lot of cases. So maybe give your guys your permission to just take a step back, call a timeout. You're not giving up on anything. You're just gonna chill out. My mom had her last kid at 47. You just never really know, And so I know, science out there tells you you're supposed to, your clock's ticking and then you're more at risk if you get pregnant earlier. But like, listen, just go live your life. You never really know. Right. You are really young. I mean, even let's say the next 2 years you guys kind of took off and let's say you're not lucky enough to get pregnant. You're still only 30. I understand that my doctor might say, well, you're slightly more at risk, but like there are plenty of women having babies and healthy babies in their 30s. And correct me if I'm wrong, at this point, you and your husband will just feel like it's a great blessing to hopefully have one. And then if that day comes, one thing I will assure you, you will feel in that moment it was all worth the wait. You will, right? What you don't want to do is just stress yourself out. Like, trying to force certainty only creates more uncertainty. But you just got to try to just take a time out from this obsession of getting pregnant, and hopefully that will help. More importantly, I think you and your husband need to like appreciate each other, reset, not necessarily change your priorities, but just appreciate the fact that you do have disposable income. Take advantage of that, and definitely take a little bit of break, and still pull the goalie, the door's always open.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for calling. Best
really
of luck.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I know. We really appreciate you calling. I know it's a hard topic to talk about, and I'm sure there's a lot of people listening who can relate in some sort of way of the difficulties of getting pregnant. I hear it's hard to do. Again, if you are ever lucky enough to have a kid, in that moment, you will definitely think it was all worth it. I am certain of that. So let it happen if you can,
Yeah.
Okay. So what advice did I give you?
Pretty much you just told me like, yeah, you should do what you want to do in life. If you want to move, you should move. If you want to do a different job, you should do that. Like, you kind of just told me like, more or less, stop planning for the life that, isn't happening, and plan for the life that you want to live, more or less.
Yeah, like stop planning the life you thought you wanted and start living the life that you actually want. Or, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
There's probably a better way. There's something like that. So what did you do with that?
So the reason I stayed in this area is because my family is here and my husband's family is here. And so we were thinking like with kids, we wanted to be near family, all that. And so I wanted to move to the beach, and my husband decided like he didn't want to live at the beach. So we kind of compromised, and we found a place that was out in the middle of nature, more or less. So we're still kind of in the same area where we were before, but we're like 30 minutes at least from anything. And we're much happier. Yeah, we moved, and he got a different job, and I ended up staying home with our now kids. And that's kind of the crazy part of the update.
So you got pregnant.
What happened. Yeah. So basically we tried absolutely everything. And I really, really wanted to be pregnant, but my fertility doctor basically, like, I have all kinds of things like autoimmune disorders, blood clotting disorders, PCOS, endometriosis. The list is pretty much endless. So we tried any treatment, even beyond IVF, that she could think of. I couldn't sustain a pregnancy. And so she was like, at this point, you are probably going to need to use a surrogate if you want anything, like if you want to use your embryos that you have left. So we talked about it a lot, and we decided that we would use the embryos that we had. We would use a surrogate. And it was a really tough decision. And I, wanted to carry the pregnancy myself, but I knew my body just couldn't. So I said, okay, we'll use the surrogate. We did that. Well, I got pregnant at the same time as the surrogate did.
What?
And yes. Yeah.
So wait, hired, I get right. That's the proper way.
Yeah,
you hired a surrogate.
pretty much.
Yeah.
More or less. Yeah. Yeah.
And they got pregnant with you and your husband's child. And I have so many, I'm fascinated by the surrogacy process. And then as nature would have it, you and your husband are just like having sex, like, hey, you think, the oven isn't ovening, and he's just he's just shooting fucking darts wherever they go. And lo and behold, you got pregnant. And so your surrogate and you were pregnant at the same time.
Yeah. And so I had been pregnant so many times. And so I didn't really think much of it necessarily. I was just kind of like, okay, that's kind of cool. I'm pregnant at the same time as her. I'll have like a brief little window where we're both pregnant. Awesome. And I thought I would miscarry again, like I always do. And my husband was, for some reason, sure that I wasn't going to miscarry. He was like, no, you're going to stay pregnant this time. And I even had a coworker who didn't know I was pregnant and was like, watch, you're going to get pregnant now because your surrogate's pregnant. And I was thinking in my head, like, well, yeah, actually, I am, but I didn't say anything at the time. And I could tell I was pregnant before we even had a positive pregnancy test. And it was like super early on. So we were kind of neck and neck, like I got a positive pregnancy test, then she got a positive pregnancy test. Then I had my like 6-week appointment. She had her 6 week. And like some of our appointments were literally on the same exact day as we were progressing through. And the pregnancy just kept going and going and going and made it all the way to the end. Our due dates were originally 2 days apart and we gave birth on the same exact day. So, yeah.
They have the
Yeah.
they got, oh my God.
Yeah, they have the same exact birthday. So
And they're not even twins.
They're like twins from 2 different wombs.
Wow. What a story.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. Everyone's healthy? Boy, girl, girl, girl.
Boy, girl.
Boy, girl. Did you have the girl or did she have who had who?
I carried the boy and she carried the girl.
Okay. What was the surrogacy process like? I mean, you obviously had a very unique version of it because you were also pregnant. Like Nally and I, like,
yeah.
you know, we got pregnant for the first time, right? Now we're in due time. She will be delivering our first daughter.
Yeah. Congrats, by the way.
Thank you. But like it's Nally's first time. It's our, you know, her first trimester was pretty tough. A lot of sickness. Yeah. So, you know, you're just like, oh, well, I don't know if I could do this again. And we kind of joked about surrogacy. You know, we feel very fortunate that obviously we could get pregnant without much trouble. We know that we're very lucky there. That being said, I am fascinated about the emotional process that comes with it because obviously there's a financial cost. This obviously is like, it's an industry. People do it. But what was that like for you emotionally to have someone else carry your child? What was that? Yeah. How was that?
I mean, obviously it was a really tough decision, like right off the bat, because I had been pregnant so many times. And also there was a degree of like, you know, you get pregnant, you lose it, you get it, you lose it. And so your body goes through so much through that. So like I had gained all this weight and like it was horrible. And I felt like I just like needed to be pregnant to get past all the things that had kind of happened and mess up my body along the way. And so there was a part of me, like, even just emotionally, I just really wanted to be able to carry my own child. And so I had to like mourn the loss of that more or less. And then there's the aspect of like, you are trusting basically a stranger to carry your child because in my state that I live in, you actually can't hire a surrogate. It's illegal to hire a surrogate. So if you have a surrogate, it just has to be someone who volunteers to do it for you. And I almost had someone who volunteered. Well, yeah, you can't pay them legally for some weird reason.
Could you pay someone out of state?
So we ended up using an agency, and our surrogate was 9 hours away from us. So like we couldn't go to the appointments. We couldn't like really be a part of the process at all in any way, like physically. And so it was just crazy. But it was also like we actually developed a friendship through the whole process. Like her and I are super close friends now because we're texting. We're literally going through the exact same things at the exact same times, like same stages of pregnancy, same like at the very end being like, okay, I am so over this. Like we both just wanted to give birth by the end. Like we really bonded. So like now we're super close, but
what about the bond with your child? Like how is there a difference?
So so the first night there kind of was, not gonna lie, because I had like this crazy transformative experience. I give birth to my son. We're in the hospital together. We have those first 2 nights together. Like I'm breastfeeding him and we're connecting. And then like my parents and his parents drove to the other state to get our child and bring our child to us. So our poor daughter had to be in the car for a 9-hour drive. She comes in and first of all, they didn't give her a bath at the other hospital. And so she still like smelled like,
really?
Wow. Birth.
They really just brought her. Wow.
Yeah. And it's different states have different things. Like in our state, they bathed our child. They didn't even really ask if we wanted that. And they said, oh, we just let the parents give the first bath. So there was actually even like this instinctual thing. Like when I first held her, she didn't smell like me. And I was like, it was this weird instinctual, like, wait, this one's not mine kind of feeling for like, because I was so hormonal too. Like I had just given birth. So my hormones were crazy.
Right.
And so the first night, and so she had just done a 9-hour drive. So she comes in just screaming. My son was the most chill, calm, easy baby. And so I'm like, I have this whole routine going. And then they brought in this new child that's like losing her mind, screaming, doesn't smell right to me. And so there was like the first day, it was actually, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm having a hard time bonding with her. Like I wasn't expecting that at all. I thought that I thought it would feel exactly the same, and it didn't. And I told my mom that, and I was like crying about it because I was crying about everything at that point. And
Sure,
she
yeah.
was like, you'll get past that. You'll get past that. My parents paid for the next day. And then after that, it totally shifted. And now it's like, now at this point, I almost forget that that I didn't birth her too. Like now it's the same exact connection because now they're 2.5 months. So I've been with them for a long time. She's actually the better breastfeeder. So I have that bond with her that I don't have as much with my son because he struggles.
How old are they?
They're 2.5 months.
Oh my God. This is crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
So this just happened.
Yeah.
This is incredible.
So I feel super connected to both now. Like now I can't even envision life without one, Actually, when it first happened, ironically, I had always said my whole life I never wanted twins just because it sounded so overwhelming to me. I was like, one sounds already like such a life shift. I definitely don't want two. And then the universe was like, too bad, here's two.
Wow.
But now I'm so happy I have both. And I think about it because I don't know if I'll ever be able to get pregnant again. Like that whole situation was wild. And so at least I now have a sibling for my child, like I never have to worry about not giving them a sibling. So that's the kind of hidden blessing in it all. But it was just a wild roller coaster.
What a crazy story. Wild. That's so great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. That's so fascinating. The whole surrogacy process seems wild. And there are probably a lot of people out there like yourself who, for whatever reason, have a hard time getting pregnant. I'm sure, Natalie and I were curious about it. And even though we didn't have that struggle, but like there is a lot of like, oh, that's, scientifically, the fact that like as a species, we even figured out how to do shit like that is crazy to me.
Yeah, I know.
But then like the psychology around like, what is that like? Because, I couldn't imagine now that we got pregnant, like, our daughter's already been with us, like yesterday,
right.
I could feel our daughter have hiccups inside Natalie's stomach.
Best.
And it's like, she's there with us, and, we read to her most nights, and to not be able to do that would be very hard, and very challenging if we were for whatever reason, if we decided on or had to, we never know. But I always was really curious about someone who went through the process. So I really appreciate you sharing it.
Yeah. Well, we actually sent recordings of us reading books and stuff to her. So our surrogate would play that, every night, so that she would get familiar with our voices.
Oh, that's so great. Like that. Yeah. That's clever.
Yeah. So we had a great experience because we had a wonderful surrogate, but I can imagine how hard it would be if you didn't fully trust the person, like leaving your child in someone else's hands. I think that's the hardest part is like knowing that, you can't control anything they do. You can't control their diet. You can't control like the appointments. You can't ask those questions that you can at your own. And so there is a level of like letting go of control, and you're literally letting somebody else be the first caretaker of your child.
Yeah, it's crazy. Ooh, it's crazy.
And you don't get to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you couldn't be there because you were pregnant. The fact that they were born on the same day is,
and
that's the universe saying doing something for sure.
Yeah, she's given birth. She has 2 sons. And so she's given birth twice. Both times she was early. So we thought for sure this would be she would give birth early. And so we didn't think their due dates would be anywhere near the same. We thought they'd be like a month apart. And she ended up so we ended up just getting further and further and further down the road. And we both went to full term. So we were both like, all right, when is this baby going to come? And so we actually induced. I never intended to induce, but we induced on like around 40 weeks because we wanted me to give birth so that my husband could then fly to her birth and be there for both births. My birth ended up being 50 hours long. Labor was horrible for me. And in fact, I was like, I'm never doing this again. Like my husband kept saying like, all right, Irish twins now. And I was like, never, this is not, now I would do it again. But in the moment, it was the worst.
Yeah.
50 hours. Yeah. And then, so I'm in labor at this point for like 40 hours. I get a text from her. I'm having contractions, going to the hospital now at like midnight. And then I get a text from her like 5 a.m. She's here. And I was like, Motherfucker, I have been in labor for 40 plus hours at this point. You just give birth like that, and I still haven't given birth. And at that point, I was like, okay, like we might need to cut this baby out of me. I'm not doing this anymore. Eventually, I was able to deliver vaginally, but it was quite a process.
Wow.
So
What a story. What a story.
Yeah.
Incredible. Thank you so much for sharing and giving us that update. What a fun and exciting update. And congratulations to you and your husband. So amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And congrats to you and Natalie.
Thank you.
Also, can you just let her know I'm obsessed with her and her pregnant era? We were pregnant at the same time for a lot of it. And so her videos were so relatable to me. I was like, oh gosh, that's exactly how I talk to my husband right now. Like that is like, she's an icon. She's the best.
I'll be sure to tell her. So thank you so
Okay.
much. This has been great. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Yep. Thanks for having me on.
Well, all
I
the best to
appreciate
you. And what are your kids' names?
it. Ember and Elijah.
Lovely. Amazing. That's so awesome. So many good vibes. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Appreciate you.
All right. Well, take care.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye. Well, I hope you enjoyed that call. I thought it was a lot of fun. Really brought a smile to my face. As always, we thank you for listening. Again, hate to be redundant, but if you like these updates, there's so many more available to you behind Viall Files Plus. We got 20 plus episodes out there with updates that you've been missing out on. For all the people who listen to Ask Nick and all the updates, be sure to check those out. Again, viallfiles.com, VIALL files.com. It's free to sign up. Get a 7-day free trial. Check it out. What do you have to lose? Literally nothing. Well, see you on Monday for episode 699, episode 700. Get ready to be entertained. We'll see you then. Bye. Hey guys, if you loved what you listened to, make sure you hit that subscribe button below. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.